Welcome to another amazing episode of Heart on Fire podcast. I'm your host, Maui Santos, and I'm joined today by an amazing individual. He is Dr. George Ackerman. He is an advocate for Parkinson's disease in lieu of his book called The Sun's Journey. He has worked in many fields, law, police, education, you name it. But before we go and explore any more, I'd like to introduce none other Dr. George Ackerman. What's up, George?
I appreciate your time, and your audience means the world to me and my family, and also many around the world who are battling this disease. And again, your time means the world because the only way we're going to ever really fight this and stop the disease, find a cure, is for everyone who even is not aware or not battling the disease to join us. So thanks again.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time as well. I know there's a lot to uncover here, to try and just, begin why you started all this. It began, with your mother. Can you explore a little bit more and tell us a little bit more about how that was, caring for your mother?
Sure, my mother had Parkinson's disease for about 15 years. She didn't really talk much about it for the first seven. I heard the word Parkinson's. I didn't even know really it was a disease. I was myself was unaware. So unfortunately, the last 4 years, it took over her and our whole life. We had tried many things even before I became involved, but they didn't work. Every individual going through Parkinson's is very different. So there's no cure because there's no specific way to treat so many different individuals with so many different, outcomes and from the illness. So finally, she decided to try at a university a trial for Parkinson's patients, and I don't name the school or the people because I don't blame them for what happened. But we think they might have drastically changed her medicine that night, and she came home about 4 a.m. I got a call from my father in New York. I'm in Florida. Said you have to rush over to your mother's house. I didn't know what was going on. Again, I didn't know that it was that bad or even that it was progressing because we were told 100 times you don't die of Parkinson's, you die with it. My mother was only 69, or at the time I got involved, about 66. So I never dreamt it would be something life-threatening. She had no other health issues though. So I get to her house at 4 a.m. and it's almost hard to keep telling the story. That's why I wrote the book, because I don't have to tell it. But so I get
Understood.
there, I see her moving her furniture out of her home, and I didn't know what was going on. I might be trained in law enforcement and things, and but I've never seen anything like this. I approached her. She was kind of agitated, in fear, and she said there were Nazis in her home trying to harm her. So I said I didn't know, what she was. I was shocked. Like I had no clue. Still didn't know what to say.
Mhm.
Rushed her to the hospital thinking it could be something neurological, even though I'm not a medical doctor.
Right.
My PhD is in, again, criminal justice, which is more in law enforcement. So as I rushed her to the hospital, they said we saved her life. And in a way, I was happy, obviously. But then that's when the whole entire world of Parkinson's started moving very quickly, and her whole life changed from that moment on. And that wasn't even the scariest part. When I brought her to the hospital, I went back to her home to get some clothes for her. And I don't usually go in her bedroom because, we like to have privacy. I
Mhm.
went in to get some clothes, and I was shocked to find that throughout her whole room, imagine like hundreds of post-it notes. She had them all around the room with names of people and animals who were either alive or no longer with us. Because at that point, I think I don't know if it was the Parkinson's medications or that she had late onset dementia on top of Parkinson. And now that was the first time I've ever heard of hallucinations and delusions. And those were kind of more frightening than even Parkinson's because she wasn't able at times to understand who was actually physically present or who wasn't. And as a caregiver, again, no, you never want to see anyone go through that, but your own mother or father or loved one was heartbreaking.
Yeah, no, I'm thank you for sharing. It's must have been very challenging to witness and experience. I know she wasn't always in that condition. Can you tell us a little bit more about like how she was as an individual, prior to the condition, just to show the stark contrast?
Yeah, she was always really friendly, happy. Her favorite time was spending it with her three grandchildren, blowing bubbles in the backyard. She really, I don't think I would be even sitting here the man I am today, or accomplish what I have in my life if it wasn't for my mother's support. She was a school teacher, had a master's, and literally gave it all up to raise me and my brother. So I knew that when it was time to, I never dreamt it would be until like 80 or 90, but I knew if she needed me, I'd have to be there by her side. I wanted to be. She didn't have a husband at the time. My parents are divorced, so she really had no support if it wasn't for me. She made me swear, and I was happy to do it, that we wouldn't put her in a home, but there were definitely challenges if we get into it as a caregiver, first time caregiver, that I mean, I tried every single thing, but I also went through, fear, anxiety, stress, depression, trying to sit there holding my mother's hand, not knowing what the future will bring, not dreaming that it would end her life. I remember her telling me, is she going to be here to see her granddaughter, at the wedding someday? My daughter, it's only 7 at the time, but it's like
Right.
we had just bought her a brand new home to be closer to us, and I could help take care of her more. And we even had a beautiful man-made lake. It was a brand new home. And I always dreamt she'd have like 10 years to just sit there and relax and enjoy life. But she didn't even get more than a year. And that last year, as I write, it's a chapter in my book, was probably one of the worst of my life ever, and definitely the worst of hers.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a different way of, seeing a person who you love and seeing the changes. And yeah, like I know that it is definitely a lot to take in. How did you go about, processing to be able to like, move forward and just kind of keep the fight and just be that support for her?
Yeah, one thing that's important that you mentioned or tried to ask me before, brought up, is that she was very positive, but I saw that not only does Parkinson's physically debilitate someone and neurologically, since it's the fastest growing neurological disorder in the world, approximately 1 million people in the US and 10 million around the world, that's growing, that she went for some spots in time where I saw her get more angry and frustrated, but not at anything but the disease, because it's so frustrating. I mean, not to get off topic, but I myself have surgery tomorrow, and I've had back surgery,
Mhm.
and it's like you kind of you hope that even if you have to have several surgeries, that it'll fix it someday, or maybe you have less pain. But with Parkinson's, you have to have hope that we'll find a cure, but we
Right.
have no clue tomorrow what will tomorrow bring. What kept me going is really, like they say, as a caregiver or anyone, even as a person with Parkinson's, you're supposed to take care of yourself first. I didn't do that as a caregiver, and I don't do it as an advocate. So I like to tell people the truth, and I'm honest. But the reason I didn't do it then is because I knew that she only felt safe when I was around. I don't know why. Maybe she knew I'd take care of her. But we had to bring in a staff almost of female caregivers. I don't know if you call them. They were more like people who
Mhm.
weren't trained with Parkinson's, but just so that she wouldn't fall. Because I knew if on top of Parkinson's and dementia, if she fell, we would be done. But that cost $12,000 a month for many months. So
Wow.
normal people, regular people can't do that. We spent everything, her whole life savings and her future retirement, on supporting her, which was also heartbreaking. So that was important. So I threw away a lot of my own health because I wanted her to be okay. And we never knew when it would end or if it would end. It was just like if I had a lot of hair, I would have ripped it all out. But I go more in depth in the book. I didn't want to write a book. I actually kept a journal the last year of her life. If we have time, I could even tell you a little bit, one
Sure.
phrase, but it literally chronological every day for the last year of what I went through, what she went through. Was very tough. So I decided just a year ago, like, people need to know. I do see interesting things where the book is hard to get out there. Number one, publishers aren't interested, sadly, still in Parkinson's disease, which
Mhm.
is why I do what I do. And in a good way, but bad way, famous people are now suffering from it. Like, Mr. Michael J. Fox is one of my heroes. He's an advocate for, he has Parkinson's. Also, Ozzy Osbourne, Muhammad Ali. But now it's like growing. Richard Lewis just passed, the famous comedian with Parkinson's. There's just a lot of people. You just don't realize it because some of them, again, nothing wrong. They wanted to stay private. I wish they would all kind of be out there because we need everybody in this fight. But so it's growing. It's not even. I don't know if my advocacy is working because we thought we'd have like 3 or 4 people see TogetherForSharon.com.
Mhm.
That's our website. And we've had over 37,000 visits in only a year or two. So I don't know if that's because of my work or again probably likely that now neighbors are getting it or cousins or friends or family and we need to end it. But so then today as an advocate, there's days like, where I might drive 6 hours and I want to still be here because I feel that if we reach just one person, we've changed the world for the better. And it just we need a voice out there. And I don't ask for money. I don't accept donations. We have a donation link, but it goes to organizations like Michael J. Fox directly. So they were kind enough to create a page in her memory of my mother. But if you send a penny or a dollar, it goes right to them. I don't really want to be a foundation on purpose because I don't want to get involved money and things. And I really just have a passion for this. And I really don't want anyone to ever go through what my mother or our family has. And that's my number one message and goal that nobody is really ever alone in this fight. They just might not know about me. So hopefully they do now.
Right. No, that's so like immense to, share how much you're passionate and how much it's burning for you to be able to want to be that support for others. Being that firsthand support for your mom, like it changes you and it clearly has changed you, for the better to want to, you know, be an additional support to, the Michael J. Fox Foundation. You did tell me that you ran into him. Tell me a little bit what that encounter is like, especially since you firsthand also had experienced and witnessed this condition.
I mean, again, he's like a hero of mine because he didn't decide to have a private life. He did the opposite. It's almost what I believe. He fought back. My mother, I think, lost 15 years of her life alive. And I feel strongly 15 years after she passed because she was healthy. She actually was walking several miles a week. The last 4 years, she ended up, because it progressed, going to cane for 2 years and walker, then a wheelchair, and then bedbound. So I don't still to this day I don't understand. And also I'm grateful for your time and your audience because I'm still grieving even 4 years later. But things like advocacy and this helped me a lot. So thank you for that.
That's
Meeting him again was an honor. I had the great opportunity to meet him to talk for a minute, and then we have a band that we stopped sending because it's expensive. I spent thousands, but just as Together for Sharon, but in memory of my mother Sharon, and then it has Parkinson's awareness. It's just a purple band. I actually gave it to him, and I didn't think he'd wear it, but I left that day, and other people met him, and he was wearing the band the whole day. So it's a beautiful thing, and the photos on our website, togetherforsharon.com. But I got a small chance to tell him that I love him. I'm grateful for what he does, but he has to know that we're right by his side fighting this fight. And I told him about my mother and he was really I think he appreciated it but also was sad. And that was another thing. It was it was like when a movie when your life flashes by. Part of me was in heaven because I got the opportunity. The other part was heartbroken again because I saw a little of my mother in him, and this was like several months ago. And then I met him again, but then the other weekend, I don't know if you saw, it's all over the internet, he actually came on stage in another country, I don't remember where, but Coldplay, the famous musician, the band, the rock band, had a concert. I
yeah.
think there might have been like 20 million people there. I've never seen, but they brought him on stage and he played Johnny B. Good from Back to the Future. But he was wheelchair bound, which was, again, heartbreaking because he's really, I might be a voice, but he's, symbol of Parkinson's, fighting the disease. And I'm really scared. The other night, I thought to myself, when he's not here, God forbid, it's going to crush a lot of the world out there in the Parkinson's community too,
Mhm.
because he's again the voice. So if we're losing the fight, we need to do more. And like I said, if I could just reach a few people every week, then I think we've done something great. But I need everybody out there listening. I need them to support you and your show and the amazing things you do. And we'll, of course, share this around the world too, forever. So this conversation really isn't just about one quick talk. It has to continue till
Yes,
we find a cure. So thank you.
I agree. No, thank you. And I just know that in lieu of everything that you have been pushing through, you also have your own show as far as being able to interview other people and other caregivers and what they've faced and experienced. Can you enlighten us a little bit more about what that experience has been like for you.
Yeah, I never thought I'd have a show or even wanted it, but I happened to find out a year ago that we didn't just have 1 million people in the U.S. We had 10 million around the world. And I talked to myself again and said, George, this is nuts. Like, how do you have that many people? And I'm not even aware. So I decided, why not reach out? And thankfully, there are some positives to social media. Like today, there are negatives too, which is a different show for another day. But
Right.
so I found out that there were all these individuals like UK, England, France, Spain. I mean, I always want to visit, but I didn't know Parkinson doesn't discriminate. It reaches everywhere. So I started to embark on my own journey of interviewing 700 people around the world, from Alaska to Canada to India to Nova Scotia to Iceland to France, Spain, Italy, Germany, you can name it. I found someone who has Parkinson's or advocates or fighting it, and I was able to interview them all. They're all for free. I offer them all for free. We don't accept or allow money. We
Mhm.
just want to cure it. And they're all at TogetherForSharon.com. And one gentleman was funny. He wrote to me and said, I love your site. I was on it for 10 hours reading interviews. And I wrote back and said, it's amazing, but I don't want you spending 10 hours reading. So anyway, so the written interviews were hard because this is just me. Like, people sometimes think this is like Wizard of Oz. There's a whole group of people and I'm behind the scene, but it's just me, that I have a passion for it. So I kind of cut back on those. We are going to release a book, I hope, this summer with 200 of the 700 interviews. So that'll be out. I have to think of a lot of the background, because I don't really even want to charge, but if
Right.
you're an independent publisher, it's extremely expensive. I'll never make any of the money back, but again, I don't do it for that. We've donated actually $20,000 in 4 years of our own family money to all these organizations, and to get a research to find a cure. But so only like a year ago, I decided, I really enjoy these shows like yours, because I like to meet other people, and I also like to do good things, and advocate. But I really enjoy the questions, because it gets like tiresome to just say the same. But when you go to different shows, it's nice because you get different perspectives. And anyway, so I decided, why there's no show. Actually, what's shocking is the book. It's available too on Amazon. If you go to togetherforsharon.com and click about us, you'll see our book. There's no book, and you can email me if anyone out there if I'm wrong, from a son who lost a loved one like their mother in the world. So this is like literally the only book. I don't know how or why. I wish it wasn't, but so I said, why not have a show really for the Parkinson's community? And I don't know if it'll reach everyone, but it's been incredible. I'm now booked till 2025. I really started thinking I just want to do one a month. That's it. And somehow I got to 20 people, 30. It's like, and I don't get paid for this and I have to work. So I even
Right.
have one today, but I just keep, every time I see someone like that inspires me, it kind of breaks my heart a little that people aren't aware of them. So yesterday I interviewed a young woman who has or not an organization, but does something called the Foxtrot, which is cute. It's a 5K, and she raised $20,000 a few months ago. All donations go straight to the Michael J. Fox Foundation, because her father has Parkinson's. So I got an incredible opportunity. She also is like a major beauty pageant winner. So it was really amazing to see, all the background, but also for her own world, and how she uses pageants to bring the message of awareness, which I think is amazing. I don't think I'll get into any pageants anytime soon. But when you have a stage like that, like celebrities and things, it's really cool. And then we've been getting a lot of I've been trying, but celebrities involved. I've interviewed Muhammad Ali's daughter, Jack Osbourne, Ozzy Osbourne's son, gave us a message. We have a message from Kenny G, who is my mother's all-time favorite musician. He played a song and said a message. And I actually just reached out to another famous actress who knows Michael J. Fox from. It's been a long day, but we'll see if she writes back. A lot of time I don't get responses, which is frustrating. But I've written to news. It's sad. I've had people want to come to my house from the media immediately, because we have a problem with our neighbor who shoots Disney World fireworks off at 4th of July, which I'm not looking forward to, and it floods our home like you would. It's horrifying, and that's not my problem. But so the news will run over because the person was a famous football athlete. I won't say
Mhm.
names. They'll run over to do a story about how they're destroying our home. But I've written like 15 letters for April for Parkinson's awareness, and nobody responds. So we have a big problem in our society still. Hope just by us talking today, that kind of brings a little change.
Thank you again for listening to Heart on Fire podcast, or if you're viewing, we appreciate you all. And if you would like or subscribe or follow wherever you are tuning in, feel free to. And feel free to follow us on our Instagram page at heartonfire.podcast. And of course, we always want to empower you and say you are enough. And now let's continue on with the show.
No, I agree. And obviously, your efforts are, one step in the direction because, to say that there wasn't anything before and now that there is something out there now, it just goes to show, like one one person, one person at a time. And starting with you, it goes to show like, we can do something about it. And so I'm just very grateful to, hear about your work, see about your work and, seeing the reach that you're putting out there and to be actually in cahoots and connected with people who can lift up this platform. It just goes to show like you know the fight doesn't stop. It keeps
Well,
going.
one thing I'm not good at, which again, I'll be honest, is not time management, but trying to say no. It's every time I see someone, I really get excited, and I want everyone to know what I know. But there's a point where you get burnt out. I think of some days I don't sleep because I wish we had a cure, and I feel like a truck drove over me. But I
Mm.
still, and it's hard because even from the hospital bed, even tomorrow, second I wake up, I'll be posting for awareness because no matter what pain I might have, that's even to me that battle is much tougher. And I just hope someday we don't have to do this and that we find a cure. So there's a lot of work still to be done. We just had some big time laws throughout the United States for the first time ever passed. I heard rumors that it's on the president's desk. It's called the National Plan to End Parkinson's Disease. But the sad thing is that's the first law in U.S. history. So I don't understand how, after decades of people suffering, like my mother, why it's the first one, but it's a great sign. Even if it's passed or signed into law, there's still a lot of work to make sure it's implemented. But we're
Right.
definitely making some break ground. We're actually, in history right now. So it's definitely a lot of positive things. I get asked a lot is how do you get Parkinson's? Well, we're not sure. We think it could be environment. My mother had a lot of mold and termites in her home, even though she had a beautiful home. And back then they sprayed anything. It was really frightening. So I think that's how she got it. But they also think if you have a good diet and exercise, it can slow the progression. But there's a lot of things out there like pesticides, and we're not aware of that they spray on our foods, and
Mm.
it's just frightening. And then the last thing is they don't think it's genetics, but I've been honestly doing a lot of research in my own podcasts, and a lot of the people I'm interviewing, fathers have it, mothers have it. So I don't know if I'll ever get it, but hopefully we have a cure, so I don't have to worry about that. There's not a lot of testing right now. The Michael J. Fox Foundation found a breakthrough a year ago called a biomarker where you can have an invasive needle in your spine, which I've already had enough of. So I'm not going to do it, but it'll actually possibly determine if you have Parkinson's. They want to take that invasive one and put into a small one, like a regular simple blood test, and have it at every doctor's office someday. And I think that's amazing because you can avoid misdiagnosis. You can have early diagnosis so you can treat it properly. There are people not sure if they have Parkinson's being, treated for wrong things and make it worse. So,
Mhm.
there's a lot still to come with that. I'm excited because I actually finished two more books. I'm waiting though. I'm going to just do for April's Parkinson's awareness. So maybe if I have the time, I'll have one a year, but I don't want to like flood the market. I just think there's a lot of topics that are needed that aren't out there. My next one is in editing, but it's going to change the world. It's about policing and Parkinson's, where every single police academy in the US mentions Alzheimer's and dementia, but there's nothing about Parkinson's. So my dream would be to work with the Michael J. Fox Foundation and go to legislature and have them add or somehow have every academy in the United States add just the word Parkinson's disease. So now you'll have officers pull people over and realize that Parkinson's is an involuntary movement with your arms. If you're not on the right medication or at that time they wore off, an officer approaches the car. I'm an officer I know and not aware, it's not going to end good. And now if they're aware, it might change the face of history and for the future. That's a very, very, very big book that there's nothing, like literally, again, I'm shocked, but nothing out there for Parkinson's and policing. There are people trying to do things, but hopefully it'll be out there. The problem is, again, it's, it's just me and one voice, one son, one person trying to make a difference. But if I don't have everyone aboard, it's much, much more difficult.
Definitely. And it's a strong purpose that you hope to, at least continue to be leading on. I mean, obviously, like you said, you do other things with your life, how do you try and find like the balance in
Yeah.
creating this? I know you mentioned you're
Mhm.
still working on time management and being able to coordinate, but just to humanize like everything that you've been doing, can you enlighten us a little bit more about what you do outside of your advocacy?
It's hard. I mean, you have to have a passion. So, I mean, I used to live in the gym a lot. I love it. I felt better, but I've had a lot of my own medical issues with my back. So it kind of threw me out of the world of fitness and given me more time. The nice thing with social media, you do it from the bed to beyond. You can do it from anywhere, anytime. So it's nice because you have the freedom. My whole life has been advocacy before Parkinson's. I didn't even know what the word meant. I actually dedicated my life to victims of crime. I became an attorney, worked as an intern in the state attorney's office in Florida. I'm also a lawyer in DC. And I really just wanted to be a prosecutor or at least get in the world of criminal law to help defend victims and also, on the other side, defendants who might not have done something they're accused of. Then I saw, though, in the prosecutor's office, we didn't have enough time to spend with victims. There's just too many cases. So I thought, why not become a police officer? But I went to Miami Academy. It was really tough. They didn't like new people and they didn't like lawyers. So I had a really interesting, experience. But it taught me build up character and get a tough skin. So, but then as an officer, I found now I'm reserved, so I'm not there much anymore because of my medical, but I'm still a sworn officer. But I found that you have to give a brochure to a victim and move on because it's too. So I was kind of heartbroken again. But then I fell in love with teaching and education at the college and master's level and doctoral and the law school level. And I found that I can now, teach, but also learn, from the students, which I love from all over the world. And had the honor for my PhD in criminal justice. I studied and worked with a group of African American mothers who lost their loved ones due to murder in West Palm Beach, Florida. And my 300-page dissertation, which is available for free out there, if anyone wants to read, that's what it was about and how they, when you have a loss like that, it's tragic, but to get back or reintegrate yourself into society, it's almost impossible. But through faith, community, that helped them and still does today. And I kind of, it's complicated, but I've been in office since 2006 and I'm called a reserve. So what that means is I literally put a gun and a badge and a vest on and haven't gotten paid a penny my whole career. Most people think that's nuts. Like, how could you go, but and my mother didn't like it. I'm going to tell you the truth. She hated it. But I did it again because I really liked the community. I liked serving like turkeys on the holiday. I love driving the children and Santa around for Christmas, for Toys for Tot. I love that stuff. So, you have to sacrifice sometimes. I wouldn't say sacrifice your own life, but there are people out there doing it to help the community. And that's what I look at today is I didn't forget the victims, but I shifted a little to Parkinson because I do feel that my mother was a victim, our family were victims to this disease. And it's, just heartbreaking again. I'll say it 100 times because there wasn't a way to save her. So, I just want to hope we could save other people.
Absolutely. Well, I am definitely in here to help support, this advocacy towards, finding a cure. And I'm so glad that we get to cross paths to be able to create another space where people can learn more about it. And is there anything more that you want to touch on that you haven't relayed this far at this point in time that
I
you
don't
want
usually
to
talk.
explore?
Yeah, I appreciate it. I don't usually talk about it because we never have time. But on page 17 of my book, I
Mhm.
talk about the treatments. So I want to make sure people know this might be a journey, a story of our journey, and some of it is tough. So you could I always say skip one chapter. It's called the last week, but there are a lot of really important positive things. People like you and your community inspire me, and people I see still out there fighting the disease and their families. I do it all in memory of my mother, but for all the people we've lost due to Parkinson's, they should never be forgotten. We have a section we started called In Memory, where I actually interview people, if anyone's listening, where about your loved one you lost from Parkinson, and we make sure their memory is never forgotten. But so some topics are first signs, my caregiving, how important my family and my wife and children were. Also the mission forward, which is today, and how grateful I am to so many. But page 17, just quickly, there are treatments for Parkinson's. They don't cure it, but they will reduce the progression. So we went to doctors. There are medications. There are also physical therapy, occupational therapy, and so a few other things we mentioned. Exercise 45 minutes a day. There's also speech therapy, and we even tried getting a license that didn't work for us for medical marijuana, because in Florida you can have a legal, license. I just didn't like seeing her in pain, but it was complicated. It didn't work. So there are positives to this. Of course, I lost my mother, which was just like every day stings for me. I feel like a part of me did pass too when she did, because she was my best friend. We would speak like 10 times a day. It was, I don't know, I think that's just being a son. Some people say they don't even talk to their loved one like more than a week, once a week or a month, which I say don't do that, please. But just to end, forget all the little things. We used to all argue on Sundays about where we're going to order in, because we had a big family. So we would have like literal fights over who wants what kind of food. And now Sunday comes and just silence. And I kind of miss those arguments. But I just have one last message to you and your audience, and everyone out there, whether it's Parkinson's or any disease. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with the amazing host today, will advocate for you, and together our voices are so much stronger. And I always say I'm just getting started, because even though I'm not, every day I, meet someone like you in your audience, or just happen to be on social media and see somebody uncontrollably shaking, because it's one of the signs we didn't get to, but Parkinson's is external tremors. There's also things like dystonia, which is the curling of the toes. But it's a movement disorder. So your mind or your body is wanting you to, or your mind in a way saying, "Let me go touch the screen here," but your body's not allowing the movement, which is just tragic. So but my main thing again is you all inspire me. I'll never stop till we find a cure. And again, I'm just so grateful for your time and friendship, and hope that this continues until there is a cure. So thank you again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much again for sharing. There's like so much to uncover with regards to this Parkinson's disease. And so I hope that for the audience that isn't aware, feel free to, research and just learn a little bit more about it. How can they go about, following your journey, George, just to kind of recap?
Yeah, I felt alone. Sometimes I still do. My mother felt really alone. And we started the website to provide resources completely free. You go to TogetherForSharon.com, you'll have, a lot of things from media to our show that we're doing now, to my interviews, to resources around the world that actually have live events in your, location or virtual. We have a support group that meets once a month for people who lost a loved one due to any disease, completely free. It's on Zoom. It's not recorded on purpose. It's confidential. But there's just a lot of my shows out there. I also don't know why, but I have 7 social medias, and I don't know how I do it, because it's just me. But it's like I try hard, and I just want to end this. And if you go to TogetherForSharon.com, scroll down, you'll see a little, looks like a Christmas tree. It's a link tree, I guess, and you can click that. You can add me everywhere, and I'll add you right back. Because again, we have to be a family in this fight. And for a different book, another time, I'll tell you about I have a lot of experiences, unfortunately, too, where I don't have Parkinson's. I'm not a caregiver of someone alive with Parkinson's. So I'm kind of stuck in this weird other category of someone who lost a loved one due to Parkinson's. And there's a whole world of topics and sadness there, because I don't feel sometimes I have a say. So in a way, I'm grateful, because a lot of people, we have a beginning, middle, and end of life. A lot of the organizations don't want to talk about the end of life, which is kind of reasonable, but just delaying it or ignoring it is not the way. I always think if we could bring back the 20 million people, I'm sure over the last 30, 40 years, who are still alive, the family who lost someone from Parkinson, how much stronger we would be. It's just they don't do that. So my third book is actually done on that, and that's a controversial one, so I'm excited for it. But I've got to space them out, and I don't want to do any more books. There's some topics I'm passionate about, and people that I think need this information. So see what the future group brings. But again, I hope I don't have to keep writing these books. Thank you.
No, absolutely. No, I feel like if it's in your heart to keep on writing, do as you may. And nonetheless, yeah, your efforts are not definitely not taken for granted, because I know that just by today, somebody out there will learn more and find a way to, bring more awareness to your cause. And not just your cause as far as being an advocate for your mom, but an advocate to finding a cure for this particular disease. So I thank you again for putting yourself out there. I think, again, my audience who's been listening, feel free to follow us at our Instagram page, heartonfire.podcast, for additional updates and more information regarding this particular episode and other episodes. So I like to thank again my guest, George, today for being so gracious of his time. I praying for all the best in regards to your surgery tomorrow. And
Okay.
we thank you again, audience, Heart on Fire podcast fans, and hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.
Heart on fire, heart on fire, heart on fire. Yeah. She done, son. She been done. She done did it.